Hello everybody, this is John Felt, and this is the Merschman Seeds Ag Weather Outlook for December 9th, 2017. Well, let's take a look at the big picture. It's always good to get an idea of sort of the jet stream way up there, because that's what's causing our weather. So what we have here is, look at all the shading. A lot of energy compared to the last couple weeks. We didn't see nearly this much color codes in there, color shading. That's indicating a lot of energy. We see this big dip in the jet stream over the central U.S., and that's brought much cooler air, colder air over parts of the eastern corn belt, particularly central and eastern. And if you look at this color shading, energy in the atmosphere plus that cold air, it's brought some snow in areas where they don't normally get a whole lot of snow even the entire season, such as Texas and parts of the southeast U.S. Now I wanted to show you 24-hour temperature change. Look at the southeast. Look at Florida, 10-15 degrees colder today than yesterday at the same time. But right through the middle part of our area, the Midwest, you can see the temperatures are a lot milder. Maybe anywhere looks like from 10 to 15 degrees above norm, or above what it was yesterday. And then we get into the upper Midwest here. You can see again it's colder. So we're saying to me that we're actually getting a lot of wind switches, and we're getting some changes in air masses here. So right away, that's one of the things that we can look at here, is that we're going to have some changes. Now over the last week, there was some light shower activity and some light snow as well, some heavier snow along the Great Lakes regions, but overall nothing all that extreme, with the exception of that lee side lake snow. Interesting, sort of the streaks here. Look at those streaks here. That's sort of interesting. That's almost looks like a thunderstorm type pattern. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some in there. This up here, especially on the lee side of the lakes, is snow. Let's go back the last 60 days and look at the percent of normal. And this is a snapshot of where we need some more precipitation to recharge our soils, especially these areas in red, very, very dry. The dark orange and red. Areas that are trending wet are in blue, primarily Michigan, parts of Indiana, and most of Ohio. So as we go through the winter months, and we got plenty of time, winter and spring, we want to even this out. That's what we want to do. We don't want too much blue, and we don't want any red. Ideally, we get a little bit of the light green. That's saying a little bit wetter than normal. So we have some imbalances now, but plenty of time for that to change, and it will change. It's rare that it just doesn't change to some degree as we go through late winter and spring. I mentioned that very unusual snow over the southern section of the U.S. Look at that. Most of the Midwest here, we don't have any significant snow, so we can go, look at that. You know, they're always down there in the south. They might be saying, look at all that snow you get up in the upper Midwest and parts of the Midwest and such. Well, that's 6 inches of snow in spots. So quite unusual event along that cold front that passed through our area a couple days ago. But look at the lee snow here. Lots of snow. I mentioned that over something I put out last week, the possibility of all that. The Great Lakes are still open, so we get the flow across the Great Lakes, and we get that snow on the lee side. Look how clear that shows up. Now, a lot of that snow's still on the ground. We have some cold air. Now, the southeast snow, that'll go very quickly, but the snow on the lee side of the lakes, it's been cold, so that's going to stay there. You know, seasonally, those are areas that get a lot of snow, so that very well will probably not all go away unless we get into a really mild period. So the temperature changes here, this is indicating an average here, and you can see it's sort of warmer air sort of pushed up into the middle part of the nation, but we've got these big temperature swings, so it's a little hard to say the average because we've sort of gone from above and below normal. Okay, so as far as soils go, this goes right along with that precipitation map I showed you. Look at this here. Unusually wet in this region right here, and then unusually dry in this region right here. So we want to work out those extremes as we go through the next several months or so. We got plenty of time. So let's look at the Arctic Oscillation here, and that's just maybe I like to look at that before I get into my analysis of the model runs. It's going from negative to positive, and what does that mean? Well, in a general perspective, when we have a strong negative, we have a deep trough over the central or eastern U.S. This is indicating that that trough might diminish or should diminish as we go forward towards the latter part of December. But not this week. This week we have a very strong ridge in the west, trough in the east, and we're going to have that pattern we've seen for a while now where we're looking at dividing line, the western U.S. warmer than normal, eastern U.S., primarily the eastern Corn Belt, colder than normal. And that's for the next 5 days or so. As far as precipitation goes over the next week, looks like a very quiet week, and it still looks like we're going to have lee side snow, 1, 2, 3, right along the lee side here. Some light snow, light to moderate snow in the upper Midwest, but most of the region here is going to be dry. Matter of fact, most of the nation, very quiet week. So here's that possibility of snow, parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, maybe even clipping northern Indiana. And then look at Ohio. Ohio just can't escape the precipitation possibility of some snow as well in the colder air. Now we get into December 14th through 19th, and I tell you the trend here is that Arctic circulation, that's that area of low pressure here, we get these lobes coming through, and that's going to reinforce the cold air over the eastern Corn Belt. But I'll tell you, this is gradually shifting back up to the north. So when we go and look at the 6 to 10 day temperature range, not a whole lot of difference. Looks like the dividing line's still pretty much here. Colder than normal over the east, near normal over part of the central, and then above normal over the western Corn Belt. Then as we get into December 19th through 24th, well, I think the biggest change is that this Arctic low, the jet stream sort of pulls back to the north. Look at that. You don't see as much blue shading. It starts to pull to the north, starts to straighten out. Compare that to what we have right now. It's still a dip, but it's straightening out a little bit. And that's saying, at least right now, to this 11 to 14 day range out there, temperatures will be getting a little bit back to about where they should be, either a little bit cooler or a little bit above normal. So as far as temperatures go, we're going to start off with very strong gradients east to west over the next week, but then as we get into the latter part of December, we could get not quite as strong of gradients. As far as precipitation, this week, like I said, fairly dry, except for the very far upper Midwest parts of the Great Lakes region, and next week looks very dry as well. So I don't see anything on the horizon that would indicate anything as far as a major storm system right now, either rain or snow, with the exception of the lakes region. So that's this week's weather forecast, weather briefing. If you have any questions, you can always contact me, John, John, at bluewateroutlook.com. Hope you all have a great week. Take care.